DJI have just unleashed the Mavic Air 2, and yes, this is another Mavic Air 2 video. Except there's one big difference. I don't have one. What I do have though is some serious food for thought around the DJI Mavic Air 2. Is it worth the upgrade if you've got an existing DJI drone, or if you're a complete novice to drones and a beginner, is this the perfect beginner drone? Let's find out. My name is Vic Barry. I'm a creative video director and editor, and I've been using DJI drones for the last number of years. And by the way, before we get into the beginner side of this, if you find this video useful, please consider dropping a comment, hitting the like button, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. So, beginners, when it comes to drones, no matter what drone it is, it can be very nerve-wracking. I remember when I first flew my DJI Mavic Pro for the very first time, I was sick in my stomach. And think about this, you've got this really expensive piece of tech in the air, cost hundreds and hundreds of bucks and maybe thousands, and you've no idea what you're doing. You're like, I should have watched all the tutorials, but I didn't. I'm just going to wing it, no pun intended, and you go, and it's really sickening and it's really nerve-wracking. The Mavic Air 2 has got a whole bunch of new features that really will probably make this crash-proof for nearly everybody, so it's going to be really useful for beginners. The Mavic Air 2 perceives its environment in three directions: backwards, forwards, and downwards. And what that means is it'll stop itself depending on the flight mode, careering into a house, a cat, a small child, the back of your head. And using its advanced pilot assistance systems, or APAS, for those of us who will never say advanced pilot assistance systems again, it'll use advanced mapping technology which helps with obstacle avoidance. So if the Mavic Air 2 is flying, it'll smoothly, in theory, avoid the obstacle, so it won't ruin the shot, and it'll smoothly move around the tree or the cat or the small child or whatever it might be that it's about to kill. For any novice pilots or beginners out there, fear not, the Mavic Air 2 has got a decent camera. It's a half-inch sensor, meaning that while it's not as big as the Mavic Pro 2 sensor, it basically will take very good video and very good photographs. Essentially, the bigger the sensor, the better the quality, because the bigger the sensor, the more light it can take in. It'll also shoot 4K 60. Now, if you know what 4K 60 means, you know exactly how to use it. If you don't, kind of think sort of slow motion. And speaking of slow motion, it'll also do 240 frames per Peter McKinnon. I'm joking, Pete. It'll do 240 frames per second, slow-mo at 1080p, which is probably more than enough to capture you careering into the wave or the side of the house or whatever you're at. Now, it's going to be less detailed because it's a lower resolution, but in a decent kind of lit situation like a good day, it'll probably be really good slow motion. Beginners, novice drone pilots, this is an incredible piece of technology from DJI. The Mavic Air 2, for the best part, is more or less crash-proof. Don't quote me on that. It's really well priced. It's a no-brainer, really. If you want to get your toes wet and become a Top Gun pilot, this is probably the drone to get you up in the air. Now, speaking of the other Top Gun pilots that are watching this, is the DJI Mavic Air 2 worth an upgrade if you've got an existing DJI drone? If you have something like the Mavic Mini, the really small one, or if you've got something like the Mavic Air, then the answer really is yes, this drone is better in every sense of the word. But what if you've got one of the older, bigger DJI drones like the Mavic Pro, for example, like I have? Well, that's where it gets kind of interesting. The camera sensor size is slightly bigger than what's in the Mavic Pro. We're only talking like a millimeter. We're talking minute difference in size, but it'll still take a slightly better picture and video, and as technology improves, picture and video quality also improves along with it. And keep in mind that the Mavic Pro is pushing on in years. It's like 3-4 years old now at this stage, so it's kind of pushing on, so you can expect a slightly better picture and video. Now, the video, 4K 60. That's going to give you some options in post, as is the 1080p 240 frames per second. But the other real kicker here, and this is where you really have to think hard about the upgrade. The battery life is absolutely insane. This battery is really one of the best in class when it comes to drones. In perfect optimum conditions, we're talking flying in no wind and not in sport mode, you're going to get a whopping 34 minutes out of the battery. Now, always these things are, you know, best optimum condition things, you know, they were tested in a lab or whatever. But even if you got like 28 minutes or 25 minutes or 30 minutes, that's an insane improvement on what you can get from other DJI drones. So the battery alone is like, ooh, okay, now we're real interested. Depending on how interested you are though, if you're a serious drone pilot, filmographer, cinematographer, video maker, content creator, then this will probably do in most situations, but keep in mind that the Mavic Air 2 currently is using the DJI Fly app, which is really kind of geared towards entry level and beginners. It does lack a lot of options, and the Mavic Air 2 does lack some kind of options when it comes to picture profiles and sharpness and contrast, because generally DJI, the exception of the Mavic Pro 2, have a pretty sharp looking image, and it can be kind of hard to soften that in post. It would be nice to have some more options, but I would be pretty confident that if DJI listen to their audience and listen to their customer base, which sometimes they do, then this is nothing but a firmware upgrade to give some extra options within the drone itself. From what I can see, this is an amazing, almost crash-proof drone for beginners. For everybody else, the flight time in this new battery and the 4K 60 option make this a very, very hard drone to pass by. I really do think this is worth the upgrade. The only option is if you have something like a Phantom 4, or if you have the Mavic Pro 2, either the one with the Hasselblad lens or the zoom, then it's not worth the upgrade. But for everybody else, this is serious. This is a serious thinker here, because it's got a good price. It's got some really good features. It's got the upgraded APAS. I mean, we're not saying that word again, the 3.0. So everything about this drone is better. That is, of course, until they announce the DJI Mavic Pro 3, which probably will come this year, or maybe not, or maybe never. Either way though, this is serious bang for your buck and really worth considering. I'm looking at my bank balance right about now. If you fancy seeing some of my earlier drone footage, in particular some beautiful, stunning Irish landscapes around Star Wars land in the west of Ireland, total modesty here by the way, then check out the video that is up here. If you're into filmmaking and all things video, please consider hitting subscribe and hitting like, and drop me a comment and let me know, did you find this video useful, and are you going to get the DJI Mavic Air 2?